So back here at Rockingham, we now turn our attentions to the Competition Car Insurance Radical UK Cup with number 88 sitting down the front row of the grid. It's a rolling start, 14 Sean Bolf alongside him. The red lights go out and we go racing for 40 minutes now in this semi-endurance format with pit stop activities and driver changes to boot. We ride on board with journalist Marcus Pye as they head up towards the braking area for the infield section for the first time. Up the inside comes number 61, which is the car of the Iranian driver Manhal Alos. He's just about squeezed his way through. Our other camera car in this particular race is number 85, that being Ross Allen. Round through Yentwood they come. There is number 16, that's Nigel Greensall. Number 85 is our second camera car, Ross Allen, as we ride on board with Ross. Round through Chapman Curve he goes. There's a spin ahead. That looks like Nigel Greensall, the highly experienced racer, off the road. He'll continue back onto the circuit with a whole host of ground lost. Here comes Derek Johnson trying to pull a move on Manhal Alos. The reigning champion Derek Johnson, briefest of contact made. I don't think there's damage to either car, but Derek Johnson is really wanting to try and push to the absolute limit in this one. Side by side he goes with Manhal Alos, who isn't quite able to hang on to it. He loses, in fact, another position. Through goes, all of a sudden, Sean Bolf. Race that we've seen out in European GT racing previously. We ride on board with Ross Allen once more. He is at the wheel of an SR3 in the Super Sports class. Super Sports caters for Suzuki-engined cars that produce somewhere between 210 and up to 260 brake horsepower, subject to their exact specification. Number 42 just heading through is Richard Ferns at the wheel of his SR8, but there's contact by the look of things. Derek Johnson has been spun. I think there's just the lightest of contact between himself and Sean Bolf. That's at Brook Corner, the reigning champion, who of course raced in the Daytona 24-hour this year, is therefore going to head in towards the pit lane. He's followed down the pits by number 57. You can see the pit stop window here at Rockingham is very, very narrow, and therefore all of the drivers tend to come into the pits at exactly the same time. Ross Kaiser vacates the number 88 car, and Terence Woodward is about to jump in. And subject to whether you're classed as a pro-am pairing, you may have to stay in the pits for a little bit longer. Derek Johnson out on his own this weekend, and you can see something just flapping below the roll hoop as well. There goes number 57, Phil Keane, who is on his own as well this weekend. He started from the very back of the field as the former leader, number 88, now in the hands of Terence Woodward, heads out onto the circuit. Here comes Roger Bromley with Derek Johnson trying to get up the inside and gain a place. Position gain there for the reigning champion. The black number 1 car in the hands of Derek Johnson goes through and takes Roger Bromley. So Bromley down a position. They'll try and fight back though as they head up towards Brook Corner, both of them in the SR8, powered by the 380 brake horsepower, 2.6 litre V8 engines. Onto the start-finish straight they come. The ex-motorcycle racer, and from the northeast, who now lives in Nottingham, putting a place on the ex-short oval racer Roger Bromley. As we ride on board once more with our camera car now with Simon Hadfield at the wheel. With Derek Johnson in the back marker lappery now. Roger Bromley closing back on him again. Johnson runs a little bit wide. Bromley's alongside as they head through Brook Corner up towards turn 4. There's contact with the tyre bale on the inside of the corner for Roger Bromley. You can see the damage that it's caused to the front of his SR8. Derek Johnson just about got away with that there, but there wasn't a great deal of room for both of the cars to find their way through the circuit. There goes number 85, our camera car Ross Allen. He leads the Super Sports class as well at the moment. He's going very well indeed. There's tyre squeal, and that is number 61, Manhal Alos, who has rotated the car through 180 degrees. Well, we're on to the final lap of the race as we ride on board with Simon Hadfield. And as they head through the far sections of the circuit, our race leader will very shortly be heading towards a checkered flag. Here comes Derek Johnson. Looks as though he's slowing a little bit as well, because Phil Keane has caught him, and it looks as though as there's contact between the two of them, Phil Keane is going to take the lead of the race. Derek Johnson has lost a lot of ground on this, the final lap. There's further nudging between the two of them. It's mighty close as this radical racing here this afternoon. Up towards the braking area for Brook they go. I think it's a puncture for Derek Johnson. The car is not sitting square on the circuit. He's only got turn 4 to negotiate, but the car is not going to be handling very well. Phil Keane is going to try and draw alongside him. Derek Johnson gets the power down as they head towards the start-finish line absolutely together. Phil Keane, by the skin of his teeth, takes the honours in round 1 of the Competition Car Insurance Radical Club Cup. Ross Allen comes through now. He should secure the honours in the Super Sports class, and poor old Derek Johnson.
Each turn it was getting worse and worse and worse, and then sort of after one lap I realised I've got a puncture, but you're leading the race, what do? I just had to stay out and pray it held together. And we almost neared it, you know. I think I lost the lead by 20 yards or something like that. I mean, it wasn't good, and I'm really annoyed at that, really, to be fair. But I didn't know how to puncture, you know, so if the safety car hadn't come out, then it would have been in the bag really. But that happens, doesn't it? And that's racing, I guess.
So in the grandstand finish, Phil Keane ultimately claims the honours from Derek Johnston in second place, and the pairing of Ross Kaiser and Terence Woodward finished third. Ross Allen wins his class. Let's hear, though, from overall winner Phil Keane.
We had a few problems with the car. I didn't run in qualifying, so we had another problem. So, it was just a question of just finishing, really. And I know how hard Rockingham is on the car, so I just kept at a steady pace, and that was the result, so it was good.
So our second competition car insurance Radical UK Cup race is shortly to get underway. Derek Johnston and Roger Bromley this time and line up on the front row of the grid with Manhalalos and Terence Woodward on row 2. It's a rolling start. It's a 40-minute race with driver changes and mandatory pit stops once more. They head towards the start-finish line. The red lights go out and we're away and racing once more at Rockingham with Johnston leading. We ride on board with Ross Allen. Of course, he won the Supersports class in the race earlier on. Derek Johnston out front and leading this one overall as they head into the braking area for Dean Corner for the first time, with trying to go round the outside. Roger Bromley, he's got to be careful because Manhalalos is there as well. The SR3s in the Supersports class feed their way onto the infield section of the circuit, but Derek Johnston already starting to open up a couple of car lengths gap between himself and the best of the rest. There goes number 85 once more. That's Ross Allen with our onboard camera. The car that's directly ahead of him, having just gained the place, is number 47, Simon Hadfield, the highly experienced historic racer. He shares not with Marcus Pye today, but with Ian Flux. Through Graceland's corner, they come once more with Roger Bromley still hunting down the leader of the race, number 1, Derek Johnston. Manhalalos, who's been pretty impressive so far this weekend, the Iranian driver, still there in third place. Here's the squabble for the lead of the Supersports class. Number 70 going through is David Thornburn. He shares the car with Radical employee Rob Weldon this weekend. And the car that's now trying to pull a manoeuvre on him and gain the place is number 42, that being Richard Ferns in the SR8. Through goes number 42, Richard Ferns, position gained. Down a place, therefore, goes Scotsman David Thornburn. There is number 24. That is the car that is currently being driven by Clive Biley as they head back out onto the turn 4 again. Clive Biley losing a place. I think that's Phil Keane coming through the order. Problems in qualifying for him yesterday meant he's actually started both of these races from the very rear of the grid. Of course, he won the race earlier on. Derek Johnston still in the lead. Roger Bromley still there with him in second place. Falling away now slightly is Manhalalos in third place, with Terence Woodward sitting there in fourth. Once more, we're on board with Ross Allen. He leads the Supersports section of the race at this stage. And if anything now, Roger Bromley in second position is starting to reel in the leader of the race, that being Derek Johnston. Well, here comes number 71. That is James Abbott. Phil Keane, number 57, still fighting his way through the order. Started way down on the 9th row of the grid, the very rear position on the grid. And he's fighting his way well and truly up through the order at the moment. Derek Johnston still, however, in the lead of the race. Roger Bromley keeping him honest, but it's still the former motorcycle racer and reigning champion, the man who lives in Nottingham, that continues to lead. The V8 engine, 2.6 litre, derived from 2 4-cylinder motorcycle blocks, that is tuned by PowerTech, as are all of these cars in Radical. All of the engines have to go away to PowerTech to be rebuilt and tuned. But it's the MSW machine in the hands of Derek Johnston that leads the race overall. He's about to turn off the oval circuit onto the infield once more at Dean Corner, then down the short straight and up towards Yentwood, with Roger Bromley some 4 or 5 car lengths away through the right-hander. Manhalalos goes through in third position. Here's number 57, which is Phil Keane, still trying to file his way through the order. Richard Ferns, 42, and then 71. That's James Abbott that drives that particular car at the moment. James Abbott, I think, will lose the place before too much longer, because James Abbott has proved, despite his lack of experience, to be very, very quick. But Phil Keane, a load more experience and probably the quicker of the two drivers. Of course, he is also in one of the V8 engined SR8s. Through they go once more, through Piff Paff and down the Skull Straight, with Phil Keane having clambered from the rear of the field to first in the first race. What can he do in this one? He's hot on the heels of Richard Ferns. Up the inside he goes, and Richard Ferns isn't quite able, I don't think, to close the door enough. Phil Keane should go through on the exit of the corner. They'll run side by side down the Skull Straight this time. Good defending from Richard Ferns. He's hung on to the position as they then hit the brakes and turn through the initial left-hand section at Brook. Phil Keane will have to at least sit behind the number 42 car for another corner or so. Up onto the bank section they come. Richard Fearns under pressure from Phil Keane. James Abbott, who is racing with his father in this race. Phil Abbott, of course, founded Radical Sports Cars some 11 years ago now, or co-founded it with Mick Hyde. Will jump in that car in a few laps' time into the braking area once more off the bank section. Richard Fearns having lost the position now to Phil Keane, and now Phil Keane will want to try and gain a place on the next car ahead of him. I think that is the car of Russ Allen, who currently still resides in the lead of the Supersports section. Number 88, Terence Woodward, coming under pressure from Simon Hadfield. Terence Woodward, who will hand over the car to Ross Kaiser. Simon Hadfield in the white and green car directly behind him will hand it over to the highly experienced Ian Flux. Down the Skull Straight and into Brook once more they come. Terence Woodward still hanging on to that position inside the top four. Simon Hadfield now, I think, has got the run on him. Out of turn 4 they come, down the straight and over the start-finish line, up towards the left-handed turn 1. Hadfield has the inside line, but Terence Woodward goes right the way around the outside. Simon Hadfield, I don't think, has raced a Radical before. We've seen him in a whole host of things, including, of course, historic Formula 1 cars previously. And as he once more threads his way to the infield of the circuit and down towards Yentwood Corner, Terence Woodward is still having to watch his mirrors all of the time.